First, I want to give a couple disclaimers, and I think that these are really important. Number one, and I want everyone to write this down, and we could even all say it aloud. First, what Donna is not saying, and then what Donna is saying. What Donna is not saying that what I'm about to share today, everybody has to do. Okay. You don't have to do it. You don't do anything. Do whatever you want. Okay. And what I am saying is that if you would like to have freedom through your writing, and when I say freedom, I'm talking about financial freedom. That looks different for different people. Some people might say, if I had $3,000 a month, I'd be financially free. Someone else may say, if I had $10,000 a month, I'd be financially free. That's really just a personal decision. Okay. So you can just define that for yourself. Maybe, I hope you've got pen and paper, just jot that down. What would freedom, let's say financial freedom, what would financial freedom look like for you per month? Just jot that down. It could be 3,000, 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, I don't know, 30,000. I don't know your number. You can put it down. Just for simplicity's sake, I want to throw out the idea that, again, you don't have to do whatever makes you happy, but if you want to pursue financial freedom, and then once you have that financial freedom, it opens up geographic freedom. The reason that I was able to go and hike through Spain I was in Spain for about, I guess, like 4 or 5 months, and 2 of it, I was just hiking in the mountains, which I absolutely loved and highly recommend. And the reason for, decades I've been able to go and do mission trips and travel and work from anywhere and reach people everywhere is because I really do have that freedom. I'm not tied into a job. My bills don't get to decide what I do. I get to decide what I do. And that's what I mean by freedom, the ability to go wherever you feel led to go, want to go, feel God is calling you to go, to do whatever you want to do, feel like doing, or feel led to do, whether it's for spiritual purposes, psychological purposes, or just to have a good time and enjoy your life on earth. You get to decide what freedom looks like for you. I define freedom as the ability to do what you feel called to do when you feel called to do it, and in the way that you feel called to do it with people that you enjoy engaging with. That's freedom to me, right? When you wake up every day and you're not compelled, you're not driven like, I got to go do this, I got to go do that, right? You're free. And if you want that type of freedom, is everyone hearing me okay? Everybody, is someone saying they can't hear me? Just say, Donna, we hear you.
We hear you. Well, I hear you.
Thank you, Kathy. You see the little comments in the chat. So you get to decide what freedom looks like. I'm not defining it for you. It's up to you. You pick your number that would set you free, and you get to decide what it is that you want to be free to do. For many years, I wanted to be a missionary in Latin America, and my writing gave me the freedom to do that. It gave me the freedom to say yes to things that I enjoyed and people that I enjoy working with, and the freedom to say, that's going to be a non-starter for things that I knew were not my gifts and that would just drain me. And so that's how I define freedom. And for the purposes of our discussion today, let's just, for fun, again, you've got your own number, but I think that if you could build a 6-figure business, like if you were able to generate 10,000 a month, that'd be freedom for most people. Okay. So for some of you, that's overshooting. Now, let's say that you would like your book, your writing, to be the pathway to freedom for you, that you actually make a living. That's not just your calling, that's your career, that's your profession, that's your income through writing. I really want to tell you, as someone who has done this at the highest level for 34 years, that very few people, very few Christian nonfiction authors make their income from book sales. That's not how we make our living as a writer. And you're like, well, wait a minute, I'm very confused. And a lot of people are confused about that. Like, well, I want writing. I want to be a writer. I want that to be my career. I want to be a kingdom. That's why I say kingdom messenger, kingdom communicator. I think that that's broader and also more accurate than Christian author. You're a messenger. And I really view your books as an invitation, whether it's, you can look at it as a business card, or you can look at it as I like to say it's an invitation for people to know you better. And then you invite them into a deeper relationship with you. And that's really what I want to focus on today. And this is definitely going to be a two-part. There's some things that I want to share about writing the book. And I am going to do a program. I'm going to do an 8-week, just planting the seed. I don't have the details yet. They're within the next couple of weeks, I'll be announcing, but I am going to do an 8-week, I'm calling it my 8-week super sprint to get your book done this year. And I'm going to be joining you live for 8 weeks. And I'll be saying more about that in the coming days. But the way to make a real freedom lifestyle as an author is to view your book as just an invitation, or if you're a business-minded person, if you're a coach, an entrepreneur, or whatever, as your business card. It's the ticket that opens the door to all of the other things. I have created online courses. Back in the day when I was traveling, I made most of my money on speaking fees and on back of the room sales. And that was not just my books, it was mugs, it was bookmarks, it was tiaras, I probably had jewelry, I had all these, related, products, t-shirts and onesies for the ladies to remember my core message. And it was, the income from the events. And then I've done my own events. Some of you maybe have attended or heard of my lifestyle freedom events, and that we've had those all over the world, and people would come and be part of those. I've also done nonprofit things like spiritual pilgrimages and mission trips. Those, of course, weren't revenue generating, but I've done online events like this one, and a lot of times I'll charge for them. I just felt like I wanted to do something free. But very often these days I charge for them because I find that more people attend. For sure more people attend. When people pay, they pay attention. I did a number of these live events over the past couple of years, and I charged for all of them, and we had about an 80% show up rate. And today we have about a 10% show up rate because we didn't charge. So you might want to write that down. Again, I'm just sharing from the heart. Okay. When people pay, they pay attention. So not only does charging for your wisdom, your knowledge, your experience, enable you to turn your calling into your career, your profession, is really helping the people that you feel called to serve. Because if they don't show up and pay attention, you're not going to be able to help them, right? So you're helping them as well. You might also use your book as the cornerstone of a membership program. All of the things that I'm describing to you, I've done myself. And some of you are thinking, Donna, you're putting the cart before the horse. And I want you to understand that I am absolutely not. And one of the mistakes that people make is that they write the book and then there's nowhere to go with that book. And I want you, some of you have already written a book, but so be thinking about your next book. Okay. Those of you who haven't written a book, be thinking about this. What is my book inviting them to? Is my book inviting them into a membership program where I can support them on every month after month on an ongoing basis? Is my book going to lead them to a product I've created, an online course, video training that's, I created once, it's on autopilot? Is my book going to invite them into my coaching program? Is my book going to position me as a consultant that people will hire to come into their nonprofit or their business or whatever? But I really think that this is a game changer. The biggest mistake that I see people making is that they write the wrong book. Again, any book that you write is wonderful. Okay. It's an amazing accomplishment. Very few people will ever do it. So if you have written or do write a book that doesn't lead to anything else, you still wrote a book and that's amazing. You're a rock star. But if your goal, you signed up for freedom through writing, you want to build a career out of this, then you really need to be strategic when you think about the book that you're going to write. And if you know the Strength Finder book, and there's a quiz that goes with it, all of my strengths are in strategic thinking. This is my best gift. And so I observe as I talk with people, especially when I do these events and even when people come into my paid programs, I can tell that they're not thinking strategically. And part of it is that there are other people out there who tell you, oh, just write whatever, whatever you want to write, whatever pops into your head, whatever seems easy, just get some words on a page and get it up there. And that's fine as far as it goes. But I would love for you in our time together, and again, I'm going to make this a 2-part training, to begin to think strategically. If you were to write just one book, and that book would position you to create that monthly income on an ongoing basis, that would either open up a whole new vista for you or replace your current income, what would that be? It's not going to be from book sales, right? Very few. I've sold just about 1.5 million books. And I never made a living on books. My living was always on those other things, the speaking, the events, whether that's now online events, people are charging for those. Notice that often I do. Or in-person events, those are really valuable. I'm going to say more about each of these in a minute. Through coaching, through consulting, through an ongoing membership program, or through a product that you create. And that's either like an audio book or audio training, video training, or something like that people will invest in. And so I think that before you write the book, begin with the end in mind. Think about beyond the book, and that will shape 2 things. Number one, it will shape which book you write. Probably you have a million ideas, right? If you're anything like me, and they're all over the map. You got like this idea over here and that idea over there and another idea. You get a million of them. And one way to choose which would be the best is to think ahead. Which one of these ideas that I have would lend itself best to fulfilling that role of people reading it, getting to the end, and rather than saying, well, that was interesting, saying, I need more help from this person. Now I'm ready. Now I know what I need to do, and I need help with it. I want to share, and those of you who are my alumni, you're going to get another thing from me about this. But when I was on the Camino, I had read all the guides. I had read the book. I had read dozens of books about the Camino, and I had a guidebook on my phone, and all these charts and everything. Nevertheless, you know what I lived for? Every kilometer, there was another arrow. There's a little, I actually had this on my slides. I'll just send a picture of it. It's a little arrow pointing this way, saying you're still going the right way. And no matter how many of those I saw, every time I saw it, it was like, yes, I'm still going the right way. I'm still going the right way. Even though I read the book, I still needed that constant reinforcement and encouragement and direction and help. And this is what I want you to understand. And this is what most authors miss. I missed it. That's why I know, because we're all the same. I'm like, well, I wrote all my ideas in the book. They read the book. Okay, so that's all there is. No, I had read the book. I've read dozens of books. I still needed that constant encouragement and reinforcement. That's what people need from you. And that may look like, again, depending on your gift set and what style you want to go with. It might be you showing up at their church and having a weekend event for them. It might be you having a membership program where you show up once a week. It might be doing one-on-one coaching, one-on-one consulting with people where you hold them accountable. And I actually want to, I want to go into that next. I do have just a couple. I only have 3 pages of notes, but these are good. I hope this is helping. Is this opening your eyes? If this is opening your eyes, just put, my eyes are opening. My eyes are opening. This is what people need. This is the kind of thing that people will come to your end of the book. Okay. Will come to the end of your book and think, I need more from this person. She's helped me so far. And I think that she can help me, or he can help me the rest of the way. The relationship is just beginning. The encouragement, the reinforcement, I need more, more, more. I need it every day. I need it every kilometer. People need more. I mean, what's your thing? Like, I need better habits. Do you know how many books I've read on habits? I still want to buy another book on habits. Do you know how many audibles I've listened to? How many courses I've taken, to be more disciplined? How many Joyce Meyer conferences and sermons I listened to about this problem right here? I can never get enough. And yet, as authors, we tell ourselves, well, I said it once. I mean, there it is, my book. I can't just keep talking about this. Yes, you can. Right? And presenting it in all these different ways. This is what the savvy people do. Right? I mean, I've done all of these. Right? So I had a little course over here that you could take. And then I had a coaching program over here that you could take. And I had a live event over here that you could attend. I'm offering all of these things. Just in the past 2 years, again, I'm not telling you this because I'm like special, because I just hiked the Camino. I am truly the most incompetent person ever. Like, if you told anyone on the Camino who encountered me that I was a woman who had ever accomplished anything ever, they would think that you were lying. They wouldn't believe a word of it because all they saw was my sheer incompetence. Okay. But I've studied this stuff and I've walked it out over 34 years. And so I've managed. Took me a minute. I just almost knocked over my table. It took me a minute, but I figured it out. And you can get this. You can get this. And what I want to tell you is, over the last couple of years, I have done multiple 6-figure launches of online courses, of online coaching. And I almost did a 6-figure event, fell short on that. But to the tune of 7-figure business. I mean, my book launch is a brand new business that I launched in my 60s out of necessity when all of my speaking engagements canceled. In my 60s, I launched a 7-figure business with a book at the center of it. What was it? 2 books. I wrote Getting Started with Amazon KDP and Successful Book Launch Secrets. 2 little books. It didn't take me long to write. And they became the centerpiece of a 7-figure business. I was going to show you my prize. I won a prize. It's around here somewhere. It's a little rocket. Yeah, you could do this. And I want to give you some really practical tips. And so part 1 this week is you thinking differently about which book you want to write. Okay. And then next week, I'm going to do a part 2, and that's going to be about the writing side. Once we've kind of picked which book we want to do and have a strategy, then we'll talk about actually the book writing side of it. Does that sound like a good plan? I think it really is. Most people do it backwards. They're like, oh, I'll do the book. And then after I do the book, I'll think, oh, geez, well, now what do? I'm not making any money at it. Well, no, nobody makes money on books. Okay. These are the things that people will invest in, right? You ready? I should number them. We'll number them together, okay? Number one, results. People will invest. You want people to invest with you so that you can help them, right? Results. And again, this is the biggest mistake that I see. And the reason is, and I've been blessed. I'm not dissing anybody. I have been nothing but blessed, and I'm nothing but grateful. But the reason that Christian publishing is really struggling and collapsing is because they haven't changed, they haven't kept up with the times. And they're continuing to put out books that no one is buying. No one is buying. I could give you the stats. At least 90% of all books fail. At least 90%. It's higher. I just looked at it a couple weeks ago. I want to say 96% of books are a financial failure for traditional publishing houses, and Christian books in particular. They're only staying afloat on Bible sales and a couple of, mega authors. And the secular arena is very similar. It's a very small number of authors that are keeping traditional publishing alive. And that's the mistake that I would probably say almost all of you are making. You're looking at what traditional Christian publishing houses are doing and saying, I should do that. No, you should not. No, you shouldn't, unless you want to fall on your face. So what are they doing? They're writing broad spiritual advice. If it could be a sermon, it's a non-starter. Because Christians know, and I do this, I've been doing this all day. In fact, the reason I struggled on the Camino is because from October 2020, when from the minute COVID hit, I was sitting at my laptop trying to figure out what to do because my speaking ministry collapsed overnight, right? And all of my income with it. So that was about sitting and being out of shape. So, and focusing on and watching this space and studying it 18 hours a day. I'm not exaggerating. 14, 16, 18 hours a day. The mistake that they're making is these broad spiritual topics. If it could be a sermon, I love you. I love you. You can write whatever you want. Write whatever you want. But if you want freedom through writing, if you want to create a career, if you want to build something that self-sustains, then you need to write a book that gives people results, not just thinking differently, not just, some inspiring thought that they've heard a million times in a million sermons. I know I'm hurting feelings. Donna, move on to the next topic. It needs to be tangible. They're going to lose 10 pounds. They're going to organize their drawers. They're going to help their child get into Harvard. They're going to write a book. They're going to learn how to be an interior decorator. They're going to learn how to redecorate their own house. They're going to learn how to develop new habits. It has to be quantifiable. They have to eat healthier. They need to learn how to live gluten-free. It cannot be if your goal is what we're talking about here, freedom, building a real career through writing as the centerpiece of an online and even offline enterprise, then you need to be thinking, what will people invest in? They will invest in specific quantifiable results. The next thing that they will invest in, we'll number them. That was number one. Number two is tools. People do love tools. If you put gluten-free and it's just kind of some ideas and thoughts about gluten-free living versus a gluten-free cookbook or a gluten-free, daily food monitor. The best example, and I actually have training in my paid program on this, prayer, no one, forget it. No one's buying a book on prayer. Prayer journal? A simple prayer journal, you make it pretty, that's like $1 million business. There's a woman who's making $40,000 a month, and she's been making $40,000 a month for like the last 3 years with the simplest little tool you've ever seen, but she made it pretty. People do like tools. They like a planner. In fact, I was just looking at this the other day. For years, the #1 search term related to Donna Partow is Donna Partow planner. I mean, I really should have created a planner years ago that would be bringing in thousands of dollars a month. I just never did it, right? People like tools. Can you provide a tool? And then what do you have? Then you have a membership program where everybody does what? Uses the tool. And most of you have probably heard of the book Miracle Morning, and he has his savers, which is silence, affirmations, visualization, exercise, and scribing, reading and scribing. You see, I remember it all these years later. And then what does he have? He has all these things around it, right? He's giving you this tool, the Savers tool. And so he's got the book, and then he's got the workbook, and then he's got a membership program, and he's got events, and he's got all these other things. And it's a multi-million-dollar, I mean, it's an 8-figure business built around this simple tool that people can use in the morning. So people do like tools. And those of you who are very detail oriented and very practical, you can create a tool. And people love that. Prayer journals. There's one like a big hot trend that came out of nowhere was the Bible in the year. Remember, every year your church would give you that one piece of paper that said the Bible in the year, and it'd give you a list of verses to read. Everybody, right? One woman took that exact thing, added like one paragraph of text to each week, and then made it pretty, and it's insane. It's a $1 million enterprise, a tool. People like tools. Number 3, people like shortcuts. And I will give you an example of where I fell flat. I had a book called Becoming the Woman I Want to Be. It's probably one of my favorites of the books that I've written. And it's a woman's 90-day journey to renewing spirit, soul, and body. It's a very important book to me. And it grew into a program called like a membership. First it was a course called the 90-day renewal. And then it grew into a membership. And that was recurring income. And the great thing about a membership is that if you're trying to replace a paycheck, you want predictable income. And a membership is that's the surest way for you to know, I've got 1,000 people paying me this much a month. It's my paycheck. I can predict what's coming in, at least as a general idea. It turned into a membership program called the Renewal Lifestyle Club. Okay, and it was a little 6-figure business annually, roughly. But it used to why isn't it $1 million? It should have been so much more. The reason it didn't work is because it was too complicated. And one of the millions of things I told ladies that they could do would be to have a green smoothie in the morning. That was part of the program. And then along came these 2 gals, and they said, well, here's a shortcut. You want to be healthy? You only need to do one thing. Don't listen to, they didn't say this, but don't listen to Donna Partow telling you to do 5 million different things. Here's the shortcut. You just need to do one thing. Just have a simple green smoothie for breakfast and all your problems will be solved. People love that. Is there a shortcut? Right? And then you're like, okay, well, I write this book or I create this tool that gives people a shortcut to the result that they want. Then what do they need? They need like I was talking about on the community, they need that ongoing support. They need that community. Maybe they need one-on-one coaching to stay consistent, just like the tool to stay consistent with that shortcut. Okay. So that's number 3. People will they'll pay for coaching. And I'm going to dive deeper on this in a minute. You can do group coaching, low-end group coaching for like $47 a month, high-end group coaching, or one-on-one coaching. So there's a lot of different ways to structure it. And I'm going to say more in a minute about how I went about it that worked and ways that didn't work. So I'm going to come back to that. But people will pay for coaching. Number 5, people will pay for consulting, and consulting is more like for, I mentioned this earlier, like a business, a nonprofit. So coaching, I think of more as for you want to work with individuals. You may have something where your book is more geared towards someone who's running an organization. Maybe it's for pastors' wives. I have a client that I've worked with for years, and she's finally moving in that direction, which I think is such a good fit for her. She did kind of a broad devotional, and I think that doing more just pastor wives, so she could be brought in by denominations as a consultant to offer, advice and direction for how they can nurture their pastors' wives and, shore up their marriages and all of that kind of thing. So organizations will pay for consulting. Number 6, I've talked about this quite a bit. Community. People want to be part of something larger. So that can be a free community, but it could be a paid community as well. And I think knowing who you want to talk to and being really focused. I was just talking with a client yesterday, and we were talking about, she was watching someone that I helped launch who's maybe going in a wrong direction. They were aiming up here, and then they suddenly started aiming down here. And so there's a little bit of brand confusion. I think you need to choose the type of community that you want to build, identify, who specific pastors' wives, aspiring millionaires, Native American, Indigenous women. It would be very, very specific about who this community is. And that can be very, very successful. People will pay, and these are kind of broad and can be woven into any of these different formats that I talked about, but people will pay for accountability. And there's a lot of different ways that you can deliver that. You can deliver it as part of a membership program. You could deliver it as, a group coaching, one-on-one coaching. And then this is the big one. I attended ClickFunnels. If any of you know ClickFunnels, it's an internet marketing program. But their big word last year, and it's what I'm going to be doing for you for 8 weeks. That word is facilitation. Write that down. This is the hottest new trend. Facilitation. What do I mean? What's the difference between accountability, coaching, and all those other things and facilitation? Facilitation is just creating the space for people to know what they already know they need to do it. And you could try to hold them accountable. Hey, how'd that go last week? It didn't go so well. Okay, well, they were accountable and they reported that they didn't get anything done. And you coach them and said, go you, come on, you can do it. And we didn't do it. Facilitation is creating the space. This is really big right now because a lot of people have signed up for classes that they never, come on, raise your hand. How many of you signed up for a course and didn't even log in? Come on. How many of you signed up for a coaching program and after a few weeks, you weren't really, come on. Can we get some honesty? How many? Lots? Go ahead, just very humbly, but humble me. We've all done it. And that's why facilitation is really hot right now, because a lot of people are realizing that. Look, just create the space for me. Don't check in with me and ask me if I got it done last week. Set up a time where we're going to get together and we're all going to do it. So that's what I want to do with you. Is this good? I want to have a facilitation time. We did this earlier this year for people who had signed up for the Book Launch Masterclass Plus, I think it was. Yeah. And I called it the writing room, and we gathered together and I led them through a writing exercise, and it was amazing. So I want to do that for 8 weeks. I want to do facilitation. So we'll gather and I'll create the space for you to do what you already know you need to do, which is write your book. And do all the things that are required to get it launched. Plan, publish, and promote your book. What do you guys think of that? Right? Write this down. You guys, I'm many things, completely incompetent in 99.9% of areas of human existence. But as far as marketing trends, I'm a pioneer. Is that kind of prophetic, seeing ahead? This is hot, 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 hot. Write it down, circle it. What will people invest in? Effective facilitation. You creating the space for them to do what they know they need to do. And how do they know exactly what they need to do and how they need to do it to get the results that they want? Because they read your book, right? Your book is inviting them into whatever, and you can use this facilitation, accountability, and really next level facilitation as part of a coaching program, as part of a consulting plan, as part of your membership community, as part of your events. Whatever you're doing, it would be hard to hook it into a product. You probably could, if you buy my product, my 1997 product, then I'll include some facilitation. In fact, Amy Porterfield just did this. So yes, you can do it with whatever you're going to do, whether it's online events, live events, membership, consulting, coaching, product creation, whatever. Make sure that you're including facilitation, creating space for people to do what you're advising them to do to get the results that they want in their lives. And there's only two types of results, right? Closer to a dream or further from pain. Write that down. Closer to a dream and further from pain. You're either helping them solve a problem to move away from the pain or develop new strategies, new approaches to pursue that dream. There's only two. And again, that specificity. I'm not completely sure why Christian authors in particular struggle with this. And there's part of me that says, Donna, girl, just, you're not responsible. Just move along, mind your own business. But for some reason, I just feel compelled to tell you that I would really like to see you become an effective kingdom messenger. I don't know why it bugs me that I should care, but I just, for some reason, do. I was minding my business on the Camino, and I thought, you know what? Let's help some people, because this is the mistake. Is everyone understanding it? I know. And again, I'm very clear about where the problem is. The problem is that you have been watching the Christian publishing industry for decades. And you see these broad, generic books, and you think, I want to be a Christian author, so I need to do that. No, it doesn't work. 96, 97, 98% failure rate. Do you like those odds? Then do that. Go write something generic. Do you want to succeed? Do you want to make a difference? Do you really want to help people? Do you want to invite people into a connection with you and really actually help them? Narrow is the way. Help them pursue a dream, homeschool their kids, teach their kids to read. I did this on the last webinar. I wish I had a slide, but I'll just, we're just casual today. There's a book called Everything You Ever Needed to Know About Homeschooling. Okay. And she's making a couple hundred a month. It's a beautiful book. It's very well done, looks lovely. All the marketing is great. Everything that you ever needed to know about homeschooling. And it's a fairly new book, doing a couple hundred a month. And then there's a book called Teach Your Child to Read in 100 Easy Lessons that was written like 40 years ago. And the author actually passed away several years ago. His family is still making, I think, 7 figures. It's multiple 6 figures. They'll continue making money for 70 years after his death. It's a ton of money. I just covered it in the last time I did an online event. Everything you need to know about homeschooling, $200 a month. A tool. Teach your child to read in 100 easy lessons. This is the result you want. You want your child to read? Here's a tool that's going to help you do that specific quantifiable thing. That is $1 million book. It's definitely $1 million book. And then he built a whole nonprofit around it. He went around and spoke at homeschool conventions and right? Do you see the difference? I really want to shape your thinking before we gather together to spend 8 weeks writing a book. I want you to think strategically about all the great ideas you have. Which one lends itself to this narrow way that can position you to be a very, very effective kingdom messenger? Right? Okay. I'm going to share. Are our heads exploding? How are we doing? Let me hop into the chat. How are we doing? Am I making sense? Does your head hurt? How are we doing? Let's see. Let's see how we're doing. Does Donna have her glasses? Donna needs her glasses. How are we doing? Eyes are opening. We're hanging in there. Eyes are opening. I like that. We're loving it. We're doing good. We're hanging in. Okay. All right. I'm going to do one more thing with you and then I'll wrap. Has this been helpful? Shaping your thinking, right? Okay, good. I'm just going to share one more thing. As you, over the next week, because we're going to reconvene next week, you're going to have to re-register because remember how I'm kind of, still jet lagged. So I'll send it out to you. Another little Zoom link. And we'll reconvene and talk more about like how to write a successful book. It makes me sad when I see people who are so close and yet miss it. I have someone that I adore, and I was going to help her with her book, and she's like, "No, I have this mentor over here, and this mentor is going to help. I love you, Donna, but this mentor is going to help me with my book." And I watched it. I have never seen a book crash and burn so quickly. Within a week, her book was dead on Amazon. Within a week. I've been watching it for about a month now. It's dead. Amazon looked at her book and said, "Okay, you don't want to give us what we want? Okay, fine. We'll just ignore you." Book never had a chance. That's really sad because she's an amazing woman with so much to offer. She made every mistake. I mean, I just like a little checklist. Did that wrong, did that wrong, did that wrong, did that. The biggest mistake was instead of listening to me, I sell about $8,000 at least a month of books, she listened to someone who I have the software, sells about $200 a month. So that was the first mistake. I just went mistake, wrong. And then within a week, her book was dead. That's really sad. Because just a few little tweaks on each of them, tweak. Amazon would have been, okay, you gave us what we wanted. You know what we're going to do? We're going to give you what you want. We're going to go and we're going to find readers for your book. But if you don't give them what they need to go find your readers, they're not going to do it. They're like, well, you don't want to play? Okay, don't play. Right? And I tell people this all the time, it's not so much that it's complicated, it's more that it's unfamiliar. I think that it's not familiar to you. No one has taught you this. How would you know this? It's not that you can't learn all this and do all this. You can easily learn to give Amazon what it wants. It's not that complicated. They want keywords and categories. That's the king and queen of Amazon. Keywords are king and categories are queen. So you give Amazon what it wants. Suddenly you've lost me. You give Amazon what it wants, keywords and categories, and then it gives you what you want, which is people to read your book and become part of your world and then come into your world and they join your program and life is glorious, right? So I'm getting ahead. That's next week. I want to look at that next week. I want to just give you some really simple things that you can do that will get Amazon to attracted to your book. Simple things. Okay. But if you miss them, forget it. You're done. It doesn't, you could be the most anointed, amazing, incredible. God adores you. I love you. Everybody loves you. You're amazing. But Amazon's not going to do a thing with your book if you don't play the game their way. And I just wanted to tell you, maybe I'll make a list of like the 7 things, like the top 7 or something like that. I'll work on that next week. And we'll reconvene and we'll talk about that so that you can give, when you get down to the book, that you make sure that you give Amazon what it wants. Okay. And now I know that this is going to be a stretch for some of you. I am recording this. Hopefully it'll record okay. And if it does, I'll be able to send this to you and you'll be able to watch it again. Because again, you're perfectly capable of learning all this, right? It's new to you. It's not familiar. So you're learning. It's like me learning Spanish. It's like, it's not familiar to me. It's not that I'm dumb. It's not that I can't. It's like, okay, it's a new language. I have to learn it. Okay. There are 2 ways of building community online. And the first way is called, and you can jot this down, ascension. Ascension. Okay. So if you've attended my other trainings, and we'll talk about this next week, okay, the 2 most important pages in your book, one's in the front, one's in the back, but probably the most important page in your book is the page in the front where you offer people a free gift. In return for what? How are they going to get this free gift? It might be an audio, it might be a video training, it might be a quiz, a self-test, a cheat sheet, some little helpful tool for them. You offer them that gift right in the front of your book. Hi, thanks for picking up my book. I want to send you a gift. All I need from you is what? You can type it in the chat. Everybody now? Their email address. And what are you doing? You're getting away. You're inviting them into the world so that you can keep in touch with them. Okay. So that's the ascension model. You start by giving them a free gift. And then very often, especially like my coaching clients, my high-end coaching clients, people who are in like the 12,000 to 14,000 high-end one-on-one coaching program with me. We would build out this whole, it's called a book launch funnel. And I would build that whole thing for them. Okay. And so the first thing would be a free gift. And then immediately the smart people would say, oh, and by the way, I also have this little training program for $17. Have you ever seen this? If you've seen this, just say, I've seen it. And then they're like, oh, and would you also like to add this next thing for $97? Have you ever seen the ones where it's like, it never ends? It's like, oh, would you like to add this one for $297? You're like, no, no. How about this one for $9? And it just keeps going. Have you seen some of them just go on and on and on? Okay. That's called the ascension model. And not everybody does it like, boom, 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 boom. Some of them do. And you're like, no, 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 no. They might start with, hey, here's the $17. And then maybe a month later, 2 months later, 3 months later, they keep in touch with you. You're like, oh, by the way, I have a new program and that's $197. And then this is what I did. And people sign up for that. And then you're like, oh, and I have this, this thing, and that's $297. Like, oh, okay, I'll sign up for that. And then you're like, oh, I'm having an event in Tampa and that's $1997. They're like, oh, I'll go and do that. Well, now I'm having an event in Bali and that's $5,000. And some people will say, okay, I'll do that. That's the way it's always been done. And how just say, yes, I've seen it. Let's type in the chat. Yes, I've seen it. That's called the ascension model. Start down here and you build up, build up, build up, build up. You start with a little bit of trust. Yeah, I guess I trust you, $17. I would 100% tell everybody in the front of your book, offer them a free gift. On the thank you page, why do authors miss this? Even my authors that I'm coaching and pleading with, don't take 5 minutes to make a video that says, thank you, that free gift is on the way to you. And by the way, I'd like to mention to you that blah, 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 blah. Just click the link. It's only $17. And find out who's a tire kicker and who's a buyer. Anyway, that's called the ascension model. Again, we're talking about inviting people into deeper and deeper and deeper connection with you. They're going to get a free gift from you. Now they're on your mailing list and you can keep in touch with them. And then maybe they're going to get your training video and they can see what you're really like. Not just words on a page, but see you and see what you're like. That's why you got to have a video. Anyway, Donna's don't do it. You got to have a video on your landing page so they can right away, you become a person. And you're not going to be for everybody, but some people are just going to love you. No matter who you are, somebody's going to love you. I was just on the Camino with every type of personality. And there was somebody for everybody. Everybody managed to find their friends. Okay. Different strokes for different folks. Takes every kind of people to make the world go round. So there's going to be people who love you. And that's the other thing. We've only got 8 minutes left, and I want to take some questions. A lot of people are like, oh yeah, I want to write about habits, but everybody has written about habits, but not in the way that you will, right? You're going to have your own, because you have your own personality, your own spiritual gifts, your own life experience, your own strategy, your own story. You're going to have your own unique spin on it. Don't worry about what someone else wrote. Okay. Now there's another approach. And this is what you just watched me do. If you've been following me for a long time, for 2 decades, probably, I've done the ascension model, right? Over the past few years from COVID, you watched me do what's called the descension model. Okay. And this actually, for some of you, depending on what you're offering, may be an easier strategy. It was easier for me. If you can deliver dramatic transformation, start at the absolute top and say, I'm going to work one-on-one very closely with 10 people. And I'm going to guarantee the results. I'm going to help them achieve a dream that they've always had, whether that's losing that last 25 pounds or redoing their kitchen, or whatever that dream is, that thing that they are determined to do. You're going to do it for them for $10,000 and you're only going to help 10 people. I don't know how your math is, but that's a 6-figure launch. That's what you just watched me do. Back in 2020, I said, I'm just going to help. I'm doing a whole new thing. I've spent decades writing my own books. Now I want to help other people write their books. I can only help 10 people. I'm going to work with you closely. I guarantee your results. It's going to be me and you one-on-one. I'm going to edit your book. I'm going to do everything for you. I spoiled these people, spoiled them. You should have been one of the first 10 because they were spoiled rotten. Okay. And that gave me the opportunity at the highest level to test out, could I totally transform people's lives? And yeah, I could. Start here at $10,000, the highest level. And then from there, come down. From there, I went down to like $5,000. I'm like, well, I'm not going to do quite as much. I'm not going to write a foreword for your book. I'm not going to personally edit your book. I'm not going to like be holding your hand all day, every day around the clock, like I did for those first 10, because I was all in. And that's what you'll be. You'll be like, I will not going to sleep. I'm going to do everything that I know how to do to help you set whatever they're determined to do. Get their kid into Harvard or whatever. And then you bring it down and then you help people at that level. Then you take some more things off the table. And you're like, well, no, I'm not going to do as much. We've delivered this highest level. I've got these amazing case studies of people whose lives have been completely transformed by my strategy, whether I help them get out of pain or help them achieve their goal. You've watched it happen. Well, now we've got a new program and it's only $19.97. All of a sudden it's a bargain, right? Does that make sense? Whether if you start as like it's free or 17 and then you say $19.97, sounds like a lot of money. But if you totally transform people's lives and have these testimonies where people are like, oh my gosh, I'm not even the same person anymore because of her and her system. And now you say $19.97, it's like, oh yeah, I'm signing up. Give me my credit card. I want to be in on it. And then from there, you can come down. And this is what I'm doing. You watched me do it. You've been following. Now I'm going to have, it'll become like eventually, some point, it'll be just a program. I don't help you at all, but it's proven. I've refined it and refined it and refined it with the people that I did one-on-one coaching. I forgot to say, and then I did group coaching, right? And then I had group facilitation. And now eventually I'll have it where I'm not involved, but it's all the proven material and you can go do it yourself for $9.97. And I have little programs of 47 and 97 and things like that. But I started here and came down. Both of these models, this is a billion-dollar industry. Traditionally, people do the ascension, and that might be a better fit for a lot of you. But some of you, depending on what it is, the transformation that you're bringing, it may be actually easier for you to just find 10 people that you work with one-on-one very closely, and you just go all in to prove that your system really works and really does transform people's lives. And the last thing that I want to say is that one of the things that I would encourage you to be thinking about over the next week is there a way for you to teach the book? I call it forced content creation, so that you're teaching it and writing it at the same time. I've done this many times, right? So you announce, hey, just like I'm going to have an 8-week program. At the end of the 8 weeks, when you've got all the clarity about what you want to do, you're like, I'm going to have an 8-week program. Okay. So for the next 8 weeks, I'm going to lead you guys through this process. And week 1, you cover this topic. And as it comes out, you'd be amazed. Like you open your mouth and like, I didn't even know I knew that stuff. I can listen to the playback of that. I can listen to that recording, take some notes. I'm amazed. All that stuff was inside of me. Right. And that's chapter 1. And then you come back week 2 and you've got some notes, but you've also got the Holy Spirit and you've got lifetime experience and all the study and just things that come out of you. Well, guess what that is? That's chapter 2. And then you come back week 3 and you teach or whatever. That's chapter 3. And it forces you, coming back to the facilitation, as you're facilitating other people through this journey, you're kind of facilitating yourself all the way to the bestseller list. I call it forced content creation. You put your name on the line and say, I'm showing up and I'm showing up. I just did it right here. That's why I sent out this email from the mountains of Spain and said, you know what? I'm going to do something. I'm going to come home and I'm going to do it. It doesn't exist. I'm going to create it. Okay. We're going to do this together. Okay. For 8 weeks. And I want you to do the same. I don't want you to just see me do it. I want you to do it. I want to model it. That's called discipleship. So 8 weeks, you watch how I do it. And then you say, you know what? Donna's a flake. Donna doesn't even have a blow dryer. Okay. If she could do this, I could do this. So at the end of our 8 weeks together, you're like, I'm doing my 8 weeks. I'm doing it. I'm doing my 8 weeks. And at the end of that 8 weeks, you've got so much material. Your book is done. Honestly, I don't think it's hard. I just think it's not familiar to you. You can do this. There's no reason why you can't do this. You could do this. And if you really heed what I've shared with you today, you change your life, your family's life. You can really set yourself free. Part of the reason I came home, you're like, oh, I thought you were in Europe. Yeah, I know. I forgot I had a royalty check and nobody could deposit for me. It had to be taken in person to bank. So I had to come home to take it in person. So books that I wrote 20 years ago. That's a nice problem to have. That could be your problem. You could be meandering around Spain, loving life, and forget that you have a check that's so big you got to take it in person. That's who wants that problem? Say, can I have that problem? Just write it. Just like, God, I'm just sign me up for that one. I will just sign up for that problem right now. I will trade you this problem right now for that problem. I have a lot of other problems, but that was a good little problem to have. You could have that problem. You could have that. Although Amazon just automatically deposited us. Again, that was a traditional publisher. They're still mailing me checks. Why are we mailing checks? Can you not just deposit it into my account? I'm going to fly home from Spain and walk into the bank. Again, not blessed. Not one thing but blessed by my writing journey. So don't listen to any of my nonsense. Completely blessed. And I want you to be blessed. And I want you to succeed. And I want you to use your gifts as a pathway to get yourself free. I'd like to see you and your family free. I'd like you to be able to go and do whatever you want to do, feel called to do, feel led to do. You want to go on a mission trip, just go on a mission trip. If you want to go on a vacation, go on a vacation. If you want to do something nice for your kids, do something nice for your kids. If you want to bless your pastor, bless your pastor. Like, it's not even a thought. It's like, okay, so that's how I live. That's what I want for you. And there's just I cannot think of one other thing, really, that would give you this type of freedom as being a kingdom communicator with so much purpose and meaning and fulfillment and global doors of influence and impact. I mean, it's an incredible life. It's really an incredible life. And I'd